we all finished our secondary. Actually, our first 3 years of college was the same. Okay? But this in your system, no, it's not working like that. It's learning based. So you understand it, you absorb the information, you discuss it with others, you open and you don't go and memorize, and the questions will not be what are the factors that make you a good thinker. And if it is like that, I'm not gonna to ask it's 8 and this one was this, that one was. No, it would be to see what you take from my lecture. Okay? What you understand from my lecture. So my voice is went, why? I'm making myself so tired to stay for you. Why? What you took from this. I have to assess that. Okay? So it's how much you absorbed or you took from this lecture, you put it on the paper. Not only the lecture, and the study, and the group work, and the handout that you have. Okay, أو زماني بيفردني lecture كلمة. Okay, you are not required to memorize every letter that you have. It's discussion-based learning type of teaching. And a student concerned, so you do the work, not we. You should study for each lecture that we give you 5 hours at least. So what are the types of arguments on daily real life situation? We do arguments with ourselves too. As I said, I'm planning to go to a shop to take something, and I have only 10 minutes. So to go to that shop, as you know, there are different paths. I should convince myself which one I should take. If I have time and I'm relaxed and I want to enjoy being in car, I will take the one that I do like, and I don't mind how long it will take. Sorry. If I have a limited time and I have to do this task in 10 minutes, so I should choose the shorter path. So how I will convince myself what to do it? I will talk to myself, or I will plan. I'm logic. In every situation, everyday task, you do this. You balance things. This balance things. You have a conclusion in your mind. They're doing it. Let's say, like, please be quiet. Like eating. This thinking process is so simple, and you are unaware that you are doing it, but it's actually done. So every task that you are doing, you will weigh. My mom told me to put the clothes in the washing machine. Should I do it now? Okay. Should I do it now? Oh, now. Okay? Why this now? Okay? Why this? So you will convince yourself not to do it. Wanya? So this is how the argument is done. So it's an everyday, everyone's task. Okay? And a real life situation. So to assess or evaluate an argument, this is not we are studying actually. Not that we are trying to teach you that when you have something, let's say an opinion or something that you want to do, how to build a case of argument, how to make others to convince with your opinion. Okay, so you need as I said in the example before, that I don't believe that children should hold their books and notebooks on their back while they are going to school, because this will affect their growth. Okay, I want to put this, the Ministry of Education, so they will approve of the electronic teaching. That kids should carry iPads instead of, most of the kids has iPads in their homes. Okay? I have to build an argument about this subject to convince people who are responsible on something to do that. Okay? I believe that Our student in first year should learn some clinical skills. Okay? So I will talk to my supervisor or to my superiors about this subject, how I will convince them about my opinion. This is where I should build a good argument. I should convince them. غيابات؟ كسهينا من باشا مفروض أخوي هذا هيني أو بأزيد هيني don't use all of you the same pen, okay? This is you should provide some social distancing since this is not the issue. At least don't share things that may transmit. Keep hand sanitizer in your pocket. We don't know what we are doing. The next lecture, every block can provide a paper and it should go, let's say, in this manner, not the flower manner. So, to provide a good argument to convince others, we need to study them in details. So there are a lot of types of arguments, but we are going to study two. Deductive argument means استنتاجي, that you should get this conclusion from this premise. Okay? The other one is inductive, يعني the argument that could be, is not should be, could be like that. Okay? So it may support, the premise may support your conclusion or may not. To get started, consider the following two different examples. In each there will be, in each type of, we will take example, okay? And then we will see, we have premise and conclusion, and we will see which one offers a deductive, which one is inductive. Example one, where to go for dinner. You are going out with your friend and you will decide, or you want to decide to go to a restaurant. You would like to go to Coffee Barbara at Malik. But you have two options, that one and Midland. Okay? So, what we have here, where's the conclusion? Going to one of these. So how you are going to reach a conclusion or to reach where to go? You have to give premise, okay? There are two premises for this. First of all, that Coffee Barbara opens until 10 p.m. Midnight is open until, and this I is also, please leave, this I is extra, until 9 p.m. So what do you have? You have two facts in the first premise. These are the opening hours of each one of the restaurants. One of them opens till 10 p.m., the other one till 9 p.m. The other premise is that you're saying that to your friend, we go to Coffee Barbara or to Midnight. يمكن كان تسعة there, يمكن كان تسعة نور. But Coffee Barbara gives the best Italian food. Okay? So you have two premises. You want to go there, but you don't want to say it frankly to your friend. Okay? You know, you want to make him feel that you argued about it and you had the decision together. Okay? So how we gonna analyze this? We will see. The second example, you're asking your friend of which extra classes to register in for the next semester. You have a semester and you want to register for extra class. One of them is 12 credit hours and it's, I think, yeah, $3,100 cost. The other one is 15 credit hours with $3,700 cost. Okay? And the other premise that you provide saying that when you take 4 classes, you will finish the semester faster. Yeah. It's more classes every semester is better because you can done faster. Okay? So what do you conclude from these two examples? Who can tell me? For each example, you have options and you didn't make your mind till now. And you have for each one two premises. What about the first premise? The first one says that Coffee Barber opens from till 10 while Magnet till 9. And for the second example says that this one has 12 credit hours and by this amount of money, the other one has. So what do you conclude? Yes, who raised his hand? Yes, please.
The conclude that the Coffee Barber is the best one to go.
Why?
Because it opens, it closes more lately and it has a best.
What if it is just 7 o'clock? No, I want to tell me what about the type of the premise in each example. Yes? Balak? Factor. Okay. In each example, you have the first premise is a fact. Is the fact that working hours for this restaurant is since this or from this time to this time. Okay? The class will cost 12 credits and this number of dollars. The other one, 15 credits and this number. So they are facts. Okay? They are facts. The second premise in the both exams, what are they? Opinions. Who said that I like Italian food? Who said that Coffee Barber gets the best Italian food in the area? So it's opinion. It's my opinion. Okay? Who said that making more classes every semester is better because you are going to do it down faster? Who said that these credit hours are calculated in your final result? It's an opinion. So you have two premises, which are facts, and you can see that this fact is true or false, okay, you can investigate it, okay? And the other one is an opinion that you cannot investigate, you cannot prove that it is correct or not. So as we said, in both examples, the first premise offered with a fact that could be proved to be true or false. Who said that Coffee Barber opens from this hour to till this hour? You can see their website and working hours is stated there. Or you can drive and see if they are open till 10. Okay, who said that meetings close at 9? The same thing. You can see their website or you can go by yourself and see if it's closed at 9 or not. Okay, so this is the difference. You have a fact premise. You can prove that this is true or false. It's not necessary to be a true one, but it's a fact. You can prove it or disprove it. However, the second premise offered were opinions that cannot be proved to be true or false. It's an opinion. No one can prove it. Okay? People may disagree that, as I said that. Facts and opinions has different relationship with the conclusion that are drawn, and this results in different types of arguments. For example, if it is 9:05, which restaurant you should go? Barbara, okay? So you have only one option. If it is 8 o'clock, you have two options. So you need to convince your friend to go to Coffee Barber. How you will convince her? Pimple. Yes. Okay, the service, the cost. Okay, you will take other considerations. Yes, please. Yeah, all of them are opinions. All of them are opinions. You can say that they are that you can calculate the cost, and this is a fact. Okay, you can calculate the cost, and this is a fact, and this is a strong premise. If you have a budget for your getting out that night, it should be within your budget. So this is a strong premise. You can calculate the cost, and this one is a fact. Other thing is, it's always busy. I need to wait for a table. Okay? The service is not that good. The park. If I say let's go to Coffee Bar, it has a nice parking. Does it make sense? Does it make sense? No. You are going for a restaurant. You can put the car anywhere. It's not inequality of. It's not about the quality of the getting out or eating. Okay? So here you evaluate the premise. Is it fact or opinion? Is this fact could be proved true or not? Is this opinion is strong enough to convince the others or not? So when you have an argument that the premise will lead directly to the conclusion, we call this argument as a deductive. How? If we said that it's 9:05 and Coffee Bar opens till 10, while Mekmek is open till 9. So the conclusion is we go to Coffee Bar because it's open. So this is a deductive argument. The premise directly guides us to the conclusion. يعني ايش مجالين؟ You have two restaurants, one of them is closed, and you have a premise that tells you that at this time, this one will be closed, the other is open. So you need to go this one. This is a deductive type of argument. Okay? While the other type of, as we said, if it's only 8, so both restaurants are open and available, you need to give other proofs and may your friend be convinced or not. Your opinions may be strong or not, may be supporting or not. This is called inductive type of argument. Okay? I will give you another example. If you got, let's say, 53 and a certain subject, you will be, you can apply for this class. We have, let's say, we have a class that you should take a test before it. So the grade that you get will tell you that you can apply for that class or not. The grade that you should take is 53. So your conclusion is applying to the class. The premise is what? The grade. So if you have 53 and above, you can apply for this class. This is a deductive type of argument. The premise will directly lead to the conclusion. Okay? If you say, I will apply to this class, and there is no grade limit, I will apply to this class because you give several opinions. Or as the registrar for that class, I will say, I will interview you to see if you are suitable for my class or not. And I will depend on different things. Okay? Something like your ability to critical think, your ability to provide a good argument. So these are opinions, they are my opinions. There's not something that is fact. Okay? There's majali hair. It could be strong, it could be weak.
What about if you have 52, you can't apply?
You can't apply.
It's also deductive.
This is deductive. Okay, either you can apply or you can't apply. If you have this one, so you have a fact to decide to the conclusion. Okay, but if you don't have a grade, And the application was through an interview, and this interview doesn't include anything that is a fact. يعني مثلا من ميل قريت. This is a fact. بس من أول قريت, regardless of the gender, I want him to be, and I have several criteria. And these criteria are from the interview. This is an opinion. Maybe it's okay for me and my colleague doesn't agree with me. Okay? Sorry. So all of this is actually inductive type of argument. When there's no fact that's directly correlate or connected or leading to the conclusion, in this type we call it inductive type of argument. So this are the differences between deductive and inductive type of argument. It doesn't lie in the words used within the argument, but rather the intention of the arguer. It comes from the relationship the arguer takes where there to be between the premises and the conclusion. How the conclusion and the premise are related. Does they depend on each other? Does the premise is a fact, and when there's this condition, there will be that conclusion? This is a deductive, or it's just supportive. If the arguer believes that the truth of the premise definitely establishes the truth of the conclusion, then the argument is deductive. Okay? Yani 1 plus 1 equals 2. Majaliniya. You have 53, you can apply. You have 52.9, you can't apply. Okay, this is a deductive type of argument. If the arguer believes that the truth of the premise provides only a good reason to believe the conclusion is probably true, then the argument is inductive. As I said, we have an interview, and I have certain criteria for that. So sometimes you interview for a job, and the interviewer feels something. He has a criteria, but he feels something. He feels that this person should not fit in this place, or this person will do well in this place. So these are personal opinions. They are not as strong suggested. All of these, when it has a lot of opinion, goes within the inductive type of argument. Anytime you're dealing with a deductive argument, whether you evaluate an argument of someone else or making your own, do not start with the conclusion. It's really irritating. It's irritating when you start with. So you tell your friend, let's go to Cafe Barbara because Mig is closed. It will be nicer if you say, oh, Mig is closed. Let's go to Cafe Barbara. Manya, this type of style of talking, of presenting your idea, is actually has a lot of impact on your communication. And the better the communication you are, the more the work that you can do. When you evaluate someone else's argument, you must avoid jumping to the conclusion. So you don't just go, what he wants. Let's get a literature. And don't go through that, okay? You should see how he is displaying his argument, what are his causes, and how these will lead to this conclusion. Is it logical? Maybe his presentation is so logical that he may convince you, okay? So don't go just for the conclusion. You should go through the premises and then go to the conclusion. Similarly, when you make your own deductive argument, you must avoid picking out your conclusion ahead, then find a way to justify it. Instead, you should build everything. You start discussing why books are heavy, the bones are flexible, and children are taking them on their backs for a long way, and this makes their posture is defective. So all this is building my argument. I'm giving premises to reach a conclusion. Okay, why should children not carry their books every day? So I should build these by providing evidence. I should not say children should not create their bats. No one will listen to me. Okay? I will provide the evidence of my talk, and I will support it by data. I will support it by studies. I will give other suggestions, and then I will say that I think children should use electronics in school. And my colleague, which is ophthalmologist or psychiatric, will oppose me. And he will say they are using electronics already too much, and they need to use the books, and he can give his argument. And I may be convinced by his point of view. Okay? Okay? When you evaluate a deductive argument, you need to ask two questions. Are the premises true? If the premise is true, is leading to the conclusion or not? Is the form of argument valid? What is the meaning of argument valid? It means that the premise will lead to the conclusion. Okay, it means that they have a relationship. There's a logic between the connection. If the answer of both questions is yes, then you have a sound argument. Now we are going to go in details. Are the premises true? The first question feels simple. You have opening hours of each restaurant. It doesn't mean that it is always easy to be answered. يعني هم كاتيكي أبشتنية. يعني this is for example. It's not always that easy. Premises in deductive arguments are facts that can at least be proved to be true or false. So they should be facts, and these facts you can prove them true or false. For example, I say that all the swans are white. All the swans are white. Swan, type of bird. Swan, yeah. Type of birds, okay? So, how to see and detect all the swans? It's difficult. There are flying birds, okay? So how can I do it? I can look for research, to ask biologists and so on. So some facts that we know nowadays, it has to be proven in ages that, for example, now we all know that the Earth evolves around the sun. It's a global sphere, and it evolves around the sun. You are aware how it took the scientists in the previous ages to prove this fact. Now we know it as a fact. Okay, I say that we have longer nights in winter because the position of the air evolving around the sun will be changed. Okay, this is a fact, conclusion and premises. But what took the scientists in the older ages to prove this? To make people convinced that the earth that they are living on it is sphere, not flat. To make them convinced that the sun they are seeing moving, rising from the east and setting from the west, is not moving. We are the one who's moving, but we don't feel it. It took them a lot of time. So at that time, they had to prove these things based on their opinion. Now we have these things as a fact, and we can build arguments on it based on these facts. Okay? So how you know that this argument is valid or not? So you will go to the logical structure. Valid argument is not possible for the premise to be true and the conclusion to be false. So it's always in a valid argument you have the premise to be true and the conclusion to be true. Okay? Or the premise will be false and the conclusion be false. In our example one, there are two restaurants to choose, and the premise tells us that one of them is closed. Okay? The conclusion is then we must go to the other open restaurant. So what if was both of them closed at night? What if you go to Coffee Barbara and there was, let's say they are doing innovation and the restaurant is closed? Okay, so you have other chances. In this case, the argument or your conclusion or your plan to eat dinner will be abolished, all of it. Okay, so to have the conclusion to be correct, you need the premise to be correct. Okay, this is how valid is the argument. If that premise is true, it's not possible for the conclusion to be wrong. It must be true as well. So the conclusion was to go to eat at Coffee Barbara, and the premise was it's open. So since it's open, you can go to eat there. Okay? An inductive argument, how to evaluate inductive argument, is the one in which the conclusion is supported but not proved to a greater or lesser degree by the premise. So it is just supported. This support may be a high support, may be a low support, may be weakly supporting. May you see it as a highly supportive and your friend doesn't agree with you. Okay, so it's not something connected. So the conclusion goes beyond the premise. Conclusion offers to you have to go to Coffee Barbara is not logically implied by the statement they have the best Italian food. So what? Does that mean that we should go there? Who said that I'm in the mood of Italian food? Okay, maybe your friend doesn't like Italian food, or maybe he doesn't agree that Coffee Barbara has the best Italian food. Okay, so all of it, or maybe he's on diet and he don't want to eat pasta. All of these are reasons to, so it is inductive. It means that majali haya. It could be supportive, it will strongly supportive, weakly supportive, and so on. In this case of inductive argument, the evaluation process has to be different. It's not something leading to something like the deductive argument. It's something that can support. So the evaluation, of course, will be different. You cannot necessarily prove or disprove the premise. As we said in the first one, that you say that Coffee Barbara is open at 10. Let's say it's 9:30 and you reach there and it was closed. So they are lying at the website. So you discovered that the premise was wrong, but you can prove it. You went there and you see that the restaurant is closed, okay? So this is something fact that you can either prove or disapprove. While in inductive or in the Italian food premise, it depends on opinion. It's not something that you can prove. Even sometimes you are eating something and you say that this is delicious. The one who's eating the same dish with you may say it's not. Okay, it's personal opinion. You cannot necessarily prove or disapprove the premise, nor you can determine if the premise leads inevitably. Inevitably, it means without any doubt to the conclusion or not. So evaluating inductive argument has its own criteria. You evaluate it by, are the premises true or at least acceptable? Reasonable a bit. Okay? Are they evaluate the issue at hand? As I said, let's go to Coffee Barbara. They have the best parking. We are going for dinner. When you are going for dinner, you should assess things that are related to the dinner. So they are related to the issue in hand? Are the premises compelling enough to justify the conclusion? Is it you're saying they has the best Italian food? Is that enough to go to eat dinner there? No. You should support by more premises, okay? More premises. The answers of these questions will help you to evaluate how strong or weak the argument is. And now this will explain each one of them. Are the premise true or acceptable? In inductive argument, you may find a premise that this T is extra, please leave it. This T should be with the that. The space is in the wrong place. Yeah. If the premise that cannot easily be assessed as true or false. So you may find a premise that is not easily, you cannot prove they have best Italian food or not. It's something judgmental, opinion, okay? So you cannot prove it. Rather than that, you will often have matter of opinions. The assumption that Cafe Barbara has the best Italian food is a matter of opinion which people can agree or disagree with. Are the premises relevant to the issue in hand? Yeah, you are eating in a restaurant, so you should assess the type of food that you are going to take. This is as I said, when you are going to have a dinner, you consider type of food, type of service, how much you have to wait, how long time that you have to spend in waiting, and how much time that you already have, the cost. All of these are regarded within the assessment of, let's say, eating outside. But parking the car, this is a weak correlation. Okay, so this should not be in your argument. When you are trying to convince him to go to Cafe Barbara, you should not put parking the car in your argument. You should go about the service, you should go about the type of food, you should go about how much you have to wait, and the cost. Okay, all these are related to the meal. Is the premise sufficient to justify the conclusion? Finally, you need to consider if the premise is sufficient to justify the conclusion. Okay? You say that, let's eat there. Are you providing enough evidence to convince him? Okay? So this is how you assess. Is the opinion that Cafe Barbara has the best Italian really enough, as I said, or you need to take other consideration, like how long it takes to sit at a table, how good is the service, how much it costs. So the evaluation of inductive argument will range from weak argument to a strong one. Okay? It has no white and black. It's not 1 + 1 = 2, like a deductive argument. It's something that, as we said, it's wide and majority. It's a fact or it's an issue of opinion. So evaluation of inductive argument falls in a range from weak to strong. If you determine that the premises are highly acceptable, relevant to the issue in hand, so you have a strong argument. If you find that the premises is highly acceptable and it's relevant but not really sufficient to lead to that conclusion, so your argument is weak, not strong. Okay? And it has a wide range. It depends on the situation. You can say, yes, the food is great, as well the service, I can call and reserve the table. So you are ordering things and you are putting a plan how to reach to the conclusion to go to have dinner there. From this, you figure out that the inductive argument can take many different forms. So how you evaluate a premise? Is this one is good or bad? How you evaluate a premise, truth and acceptability? Premises supplies the evidence on which the argument is based on. Okay? So it's the evidence that you are trying to convince others to do this. Their strength can range from weak to strong. So you say, I want my daily money, to your parents, I want my daily money to increase. And I want to convince them. So you should give me premises. Come on. The study is costing, okay? Lectures are taking, I'm printing lectures, and they are taking a lot of money. What else? What else? Come on, you want money. You should at least argue for it. What else? You are not driving me to the college all the time, so I need to take taxis, and the taxi price is increased. Anya? Okay. So when you give this strong premises, what your parents will do? They will give you extra money. Okay? What if you said, I need extra money because all my friends are taking that amount of money? Are you convincing them? No. Okay? This is a weak premise. Okay? This is a weak premise. But if you go logically through it, you will get what you want. Okay? So you should be logical. Don't ask them about extra money and give a good argument as a practical session for today's lecture. Okay? The strongest the premise is straightforward fact. Yes. Hoi, our fact of it, is the strongest among them. Okay? In deductive type of arguments, if this strong premise or fact premise is actually directly lead to the conclusion, this is a deductive type of argument. As I said, the price of taxis is higher than before 2 months. So this is a fact. So this is a good premise. You should provide a strong opinion about it. In next lecture, I will teach you how to use persuasive language. Okay? How you adapt. Okay? How you try to persuade others about your opinion. And it has a lot of linguistical facts that we will use, and you will see how it has its own effect. As we said, strongest premise is straightforward fact, such as Earth goes around the sun. This is a fact. So whenever you put this premise in